Hey everybody, it's Christina of CraftyPaws. I'm here sharing with you guys a couple of cards that I've made. These are my first holiday cards for the season. I know I'm really late, but we've had a lot of stuff going on and a big work project and whatnot, and I just was beat. But I'm back, and so without further ado, let me share with you guys a couple of cards that I made that feature the Mama Elephant, the Dog's Woof stamp set. This is an older set. In fact, all of these sets I think are fairly old, but I haven't had a chance to ink them up yet, so I'm really glad I'm getting a chance to share all of these with you. The little sentiments above the pack of dogs are from the Art Impressions Santa Paws set, and these pups, like I said, are the main stamp from the Mama Elephant, the Dog's Woof stamp set. So this first card, I decided I was just going to color in a few of the dogs, and I'm going to keep a really tight color palette. So I'm going to just stay in this warm gray family, ranging from W1, W3, W5, W7. I think I also throw in a W2 at some point, but basically the first fluffy dog that I colored in the last row is just with the warm W1 and W3, and then the spotted dog that's colored in a little bit like my Babaloo, I colored in with all four of those colors, and then this dog that has like the black and white markings, I'm coloring in. This first color is W7, and I left the eyes a little bit lighter because I wanted to do the W5 so you could see the eyes. I'm coloring the muzzle with a W1, and then you see me coloring in the white areas of the chest and around the eyes that I left paler with that W5 so that you can see the details of the stamped image. The inside of the ears are what I colored in with the R30. I'm going back in and kind of re-emphasizing the spots on the dog on the right. And now I've decided I'm just going to color in the red little highlights throughout this image, the red collar, the bow tie, the little heart on the envelope, and the inside of the ears. I'm coloring in all of them the same with the R30. This little handkerchief or neckerchief I'm coloring in with the R24 and 29. That's just to give a little bit of shading. The little top hat on this particular image I'm coloring in with that W7 and W5. Again, just trying to keep a really tight color palette. Same with this little stash on this puppy with the monocle. And that is the completed image of that first card. Really simple. I didn't feel like I had to color all of them in. You can see I added in a little Dalmatian spotted puppy there too. And this second card, I'm using the same basic stamps, the same sentiments, and then the same pack of dogs. And I'm, again, keeping a very tight color palette. Coloring in all the little highlighted red areas. I could have also done it in green, but then I knew I would have to add the red for the tongues. This time I've made that little bowler hat red instead of black, and adding in just a little bit of shadow with a darker R29 where those brighter R24s were, just to add a little bit of dimension and shading, even though these are tiny little areas. And now I'm going to go back in and color in all the other puppies. And again, I'm going to keep a really tight color palette. I'm doing the curly hair of a poodle, and I'm going to make this a red poodle. E11, E13, and E15 are the colors that I use. I could have stopped more at an apricot color if I'd done an E11 and an E21. And, you know, there are no wrong kind of color combinations here. Puppies come in all different colors. If you stick with those kind of neutral shades, the warm grays, the whites, the browns, this is a reddish color. And then I'm going to color in this little puppy with the long floppy ears, kind of like a beagle, but I'm coloring it in just with brown because I wanted to repeat the colors that I used in that poodle again in another puppy. And the white areas, I'm going back in just to create a little bit of shadowed areas along the edges underneath the paws with that W1. I'm going to add a little bit of a richer brown there with the E15 and blend out with the E13. Now I'm going to push back the W1 a little bit. The ink kind of bled out, so I'm pushing it with that O, the colorless blender. And that's a great way to fix a lot of mistakes, actually, if you color outside the lines or whatnot, you can really push the ink back with that colorless blender. Now I'm going to make this puppy a little bit more brown, fully one color, but I'm adding to the E21 base an E23, which is more of like a milk chocolate brown. And I'm coloring so that I end up with some gradation in color along the edges, and underneath the muzzle are going to be a little darker. The top of the head and the belly are going to be a little lighter. That muzzle, again, I'm putting just a little hint of light gray with that W1. This little puppy here on the edge, I've decided to color him up kind of like a teddy bear, I guess, keeping his little paws white and his face mostly white, but coloring around the edges of the puppy's sides and the ears and along the sides of the face with that brown. If you're interested in which colors I used, like I said, it's a really tight color palette, but all of the colors that I used will be listed in my accompanying blog post, which I have linked in the description box below. In the white areas, I rarely leave it just plain white. I usually try to add a little bit of that light gray W1 just to get a little hint of some gradation, especially when the image has a rounded kind of look. This mustache, again, I decided to make it a darker brown. This is an E59, and I'm giving this guy with the monocle a few darker spots. And along the edges of those darker areas, I'm coloring in with a lighter color, an E23, I believe that is. And again, I'm just making up the spots where I think they should go. These dogs are pretty plain in color. Some of them have some lines that kind of direct you to having certain areas one color and then a contrasting color. But other dogs, most of them, in fact, just kind of have a plain face. So, it's up to you if you want to make up a lot of different spotted dogs or striped dogs or curly haired dogs. It's totally up to your imagination. I love this stamp because it's a great big image that fills up a card. This is half of a regular standard A2 size card. And, with the blank space above, I really liked adding the 3 different sentiments. So there's a little bit of interest and kind of a rhythm to the sentiments above, kind of like the pack of dogs is hollering out these sentiments. Deck the halls with bow wows, happy howlidays, and here comes Santa Paws. And I'm just going to take the rest of the time here just to color in all of the pups. I'm not going into super details with these dogs because there isn't a lot of texture in the images. Overall, I'm adding some textures with just spotting and flicking while I'm coloring. You see here, this little puppy ended up getting some of the red from the neckerchief blending into the face. So I'm just pushing that pink back a little bit with that colorless blender. I wanted to keep this dog mostly like a kind of a dingy white with that pale W1. So it has still a hint of the pink there, but I don't think it detracts from the overall image, especially because there's so much going on with all of these little puppies. This dog on the right, I'm also repeating that kind of coloring just with a pale W1, and then I'm adding a little bit of extra shadow with a W2 along the edges and on the lower part of that puppy, underneath the ball, underneath the other dog's ear, and then adding a little bit of highlight and pushing out that pale gray with that colorless blender again. This little puppy over here on the left, I thought the ears were so cute. It reminded me of a little hamster, actually. So I thought I would color this one up almost like a little hamster with, I think that's an E21 that I'm using as the spotted colors. And then I'm going in with I think that's an E11 to make it a little bit darker along the edges and the bottoms of the ears and that lower part of that puppy. And then this little dog, it looks like a terrier to me. And we have in our neighborhood some dark brown terriers. I don't know if they're Norwiches or Norfolk. I think this one would be a Norfolk because the ears are down, not pricked up. So I'm coloring this one up with the darker E59 and just using some flicking motions. You kind of lose the details of the eyes here because this brown is so dark, but not to fear. Once this ink fully dries, it actually lightens up quite a bit. It's still going to read as a very dark brown dog, but you see more of the flicks and the texture of the wire hair of the terrier once the ink is fully dried, and it lightens a little bit. So I'm just flicking more, adding more texture to the face, and I'm not going to worry about the eyes kind of disappearing at this point. Don't let that freak you out when you're using darker Copic markers. Have faith. And at the end, if you don't like how it came out, you can always use like a black Sakura glaze pen to re-emphasize the eyes and give it a little bit of dimension as well. It's really forgiving the way you can color up different dogs with different colors and textures. They're really, I mean, it's nature. It's not going to be perfect. In fact, most dogs, get a little frisky and play and get dirty. So you can use your imagination in terms of what colors you want to make them. If you wanted to make this a pack of stuffed animal dogs, you could in fact make these dogs all rainbow colored. In fact, maybe in the springtime, I'll do that for like an Easter card or something. There's nothing about this image of dogs that screams Christmas. So it's the sentiments that really help make this into a holiday card. And you can just see I'm trying to go through and repeating various dog colors throughout this pack of dog image. So I'm kind of interspersing golden color dogs, brown color dogs, white color dogs, and kind of spotted or dark gray or black dogs with white spots throughout all of these puppies. I decided to change that little bone from being a more natural white bone to a red bone just to continue on with that theme of red accents throughout this image, this card front. And again, I'm pushing back some of this light gray with that colorless blender to make that dog a little bit lighter. This dog here, I'm coloring up like a Dalmatian, I suppose. It's got spots on it. It's not skinny and lean like a Dalmatian is. It's a little round roly-poly dog, but I thought it'd be cute to add a little bit of extra texture, just adding those little spots to this image, especially right there, dead center almost of this pack of dogs. And I'm adding a little bit of the lighter W5 around the edges of these spots. And then this dog, I thought I would color up more like a Weimaraner. It's going to be kind of like a gray. I wondered if I should make it dark like the dog, the second to the left on the first row. But I decided I really like this kind of mid-tone gray like the Weimaraners have. And I guess I could have added like a blue undertone to it to be more like those ghost dogs. But I decided to just keep it with this kind of mid-tone gray. And I'm using that W1 again to color up all the muzzles that I had left white at this point. I just wanted to add a little bit of extra texture there. And I think this is the last puppy of the pack. I've decided to color up this one similar to the one on the back upper left, the second to the left. With the little patches of brown. I think that's just because my Bandito has that coloring. And even though these are kind of more smooth image dogs, I thought it'd be cute to repeat that kind of Bandito color pattern for a couple of these dogs. Now for the sentiments, I decided I was going to add kind of speech lines. So I'm just taking a ruler and a Copic multiliner pen. This is a 0.1 multiliner. And I guess I could have used any thin pen, but I decided to use a Copic one in case I decided later to color up the background. I end up not doing that, so I could have used any pen, but Copic multiliners are great for that. And that's the completed card. Here's a close-up. I hope you've enjoyed this process video. And oh, I forgot. This is actually the sentiment I'm using for the inside. It's from Picket Fence Studios, and it's from the inappropriate Christmas sentiment stamp set, and I changed the Dear Santa, is it too late to start being good, to Dear Santa Paws, again using that Copic multi-liner pen. That's the inside liner of the black and gray dogs, and this is the inside liner for the full colored dog pack card front. And these are the 2 completed cards. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a wonderful, healthy, and safe holiday season.